Snow hissed against the porch light as I stood there holding Mom's old gingerbread tin and a small wrapped box. The door swung open and my sister Vanessa looked me up and down like I'd tracked mud into her perfect life. Her lip curled. She rolled her eyes slow and deliberate, then said the words that would change everything. "We don't want you here." Behind her, I heard the clink of champagne glasses, Dad's familiar cough, cousins laughing. Everyone was already seated at the long dining table I could see through the hallway. The warm glow of candles. The smell of roasted turkey. Christmas music playing softly. All of it happening without me. Vanessa's hand moved to close the door. My throat burned. The tin slipped in my grip and I caught it just before it fell. A lifetime of being the family's easiest person to cut out crushed my chest all at once. Not anger yet. Just this hollow, breathless feeling of finally understanding something I'd been refusing to see. "Vanessa, please," I managed. "Dad asked me to come." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Dad doesn't even remember asking you. Go home, Kelsey. You're embarrassing yourself." The door clicked shut. I stood there in the falling snow, staring at the wreath with its perfect red bow. Through the window, I saw shadows moving. Heard another toast, more laughter. My hands started shaking. I walked back to my car in a daze. Set the tin and gift on the passenger seat. Started the engine. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. "You shouldn't have come uninvited." That's when I knew. This wasn't just holiday drama. This was planned. Calculated. And I wasn't going to be the villain in her story anymore. My name is Kelsey Pike. And that Christmas night marked the exact moment I stopped being the family peacekeeper and started being something else entirely. Something colder. Something that paid attention. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for more interesting revenge stories. I was 34 years old, working as a financial analyst in Portland, living a quiet life 3 hours from the family I'd grown up with in Millbrook. I'd built that distance on purpose after college, creating space between myself and the chaos that always seemed to follow Vanessa wherever she went. We'd been raised by Dad after Mom died when I was 12. Vanessa was 16 then, and she'd stepped into the role of woman of the house like she'd been waiting for it her whole life. She planned the meals, managed the household, made sure Dad took his medications. Everyone called her an angel. The perfect daughter who sacrificed her teenage years to hold the family together. I tried to help, but Vanessa always had a way of making my efforts feel small. Well, unnecessary. "I've got it handled," she'd say with that patient smile. Like I was a child who couldn't be trusted with real responsibility. After college, I'd moved to Portland for a job with an investment firm. Called Dad every week. Visited on holidays when I could. Sent money when he mentioned tight months. But Vanessa was there. Vanessa was always there, making sure everyone knew it. The last 3 Christmases, something had shifted. Group texts I wasn't added to. Family dinners I only heard about through Dad's casual mentions. "Oh, we had everyone over last weekend," he'd say. "Vanessa made that pot roast you like." "I didn't know there was a dinner," I'd reply. "Really? I thought Vanessa told you." She never did. 2 weeks before that Christmas, Dad had called me at work. His voice sounded thin, tired in a way that made my chest tight. "Kelsey, honey. Can you come home for Christmas? Please. I need you to try again with your sister." "Try again?" I asked, confused. "What happened?" He coughed, that wet rattling cough he'd had since his pneumonia last spring. "Nothing happened. I just want my girls together. It's been too long since we had a real family Christmas. Will you come?" It hesitated. Work was busy. The drive was long. And every time I tried to connect with Vanessa lately, I hit a wall. But the pleading in Dad's voice broke through my defenses. "Of course, Dad. I'll be there." "Good. But that makes me happy, sweetheart." After we hung up, I'd felt uneasy. Something in his tone. Something he wasn't saying. But I'd pushed it aside and started planning. Taken time off work. Baked Mom's gingerbread recipe from memory. Bought Dad the book about World War II aircraft he'd mentioned wanting. I'd texted Vanessa, Dad asked me to come for Christmas. What time should I arrive? 3 days passed before she replied. Dinner's at 6. No warmth. No details. Just those 3 words. I should have known then. Should have recognized the ice in that message for what it was. But I didn't. I drove 3 hours through snow and holiday traffic, believing that maybe this year would be different. That maybe whatever wall had grown between Vanessa and me could finally come down. I'd been so stupid. I sat in my car outside Vanessa's house for 20 minutes, engine running, heat blasting, watching my breath fog the windows. The Christmas lights on her roof blinked cheerfully. Red, green, gold. Through the dining room window, I could see everyone gathered around the table. Aunt Marion, Uncle Pete, my cousins Beth and Connor, Dad at the head of the table, looking smaller than I remembered. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Vanessa. Seriously, leave. You're making this weird. Making what weird? Being rejected at the door like a stranger. Being excluded from my own family's Christmas. My hands clenched around the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I should have driven away. Should have gone back to Portland and never looked back. But something kept me there in that car, watching through the window, seeing Dad laugh at something Uncle Pete said. Seeing Vanessa move around the table, playing hostess, the golden daughter who'd saved Christmas once again. Then Dad turned toward the window. For just a second, our eyes met across the snow and darkness. His smile faltered. His hand lifted slightly, like he wanted to wave, like he'd just remembered I existed. Vanessa appeared behind him, placing her hand on his shoulder, leaning down to whisper something in his ear. Dad's face changed. Confused. Tired. He nodded slowly. Vanessa reached past him and pulled the curtain closed. That single gesture told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about me being unwelcome. This was about control. About narrative. About Vanessa deciding who belonged in the family story and who didn't. I put the car in drive and pulled away slowly. I found a motel 6 miles outside town. The kind of place with a flickering neon sign and a clerk who didn't ask questions. I paid cash for 2 nights, carried my overnight bag to room 12, and locked the door behind me. The room smelled like old carpet and industrial cleaner. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing my coat, still holding the gingerbread tin I'd brought for the family. The tin Mom had used every Christmas before she died. The one Vanessa had refused to even touch. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I finally looked at it. Vanessa's Instagram. A photo of the Christmas table, everyone smiling, raising glasses. The caption read, "Family is everything #blessed #Christmas traditions #together again." Together again. As if I'd never existed. As if the empty chair at that table had always been empty. I scrolled further. More posts. Vanessa and Dad in matching Christmas sweaters. Taking care of my hero. Vanessa with our cousins, arms around each other. Blood is thicker than water. Each post felt like a deliberate erasure. A carefully curated story where I simply didn't exist. Where I'd never been part of this family at all. I opened my suitcase and pulled out the blanket I'd brought as a gift for Dad. Navy blue fleece, his favorite. I wrapped it around my shoulders and lay back on the thin motel pillow. That's when I remembered the recipe box. Mom's old recipe box, the one she'd labeled, "For Christmas 1998, in her neat handwriting. She'd given it to me the Christmas before she died, but I'd never really looked through it. Just kept it in storage, moving it from apartment to apartment, a piece of her I couldn't let go of but couldn't face. The next morning I drove to the storage unit I rented on the edge of Portland. The metal door rolled up with a screech, revealing boxes I hadn't opened in years. Mom's things. Pieces of a life before everything fell apart. I found the recipe box in a plastic container labeled, "Kitchen." The wood was worn smooth from years of use. Mom's handwriting covered index cards inside. Her famous pot roast. Her apple crisp. The gingerbread cookies we'd made together every December. At the very bottom, tucked under the recipe for Christmas ham, I found an envelope. Sealed. Yellowed with age. On the front, Mom had written, "For whoever still makes the pie." My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, Mom's handwriting again, dated 3 weeks before she died. "My sweet girl, if you're reading this, it means the table has grown cold. It means someone has tried to take what doesn't belong to them. Protect your father's peace. Remember that the accounts are under his name alone, not hers. The deed is in the safe. The combination is your birthday. Keep kindness alive, but don't let cruelty win." I read it 3 times. Then a 4th. The accounts are under his name alone. What accounts? And why would Mom feel the need to write this down, to hide it in a recipe box where only someone who actually cooked her recipes would find it? My phone rang. Dad's number. Answered immediately. "Kelsey." His voice was weak. "Where are you, honey?" "Dad, I'm in Portland. Are you okay?" Background noise. Vanessa's voice, sharp and distant. "Dad, hang up. She's just trying to start drama." "I'm sorry about Christmas," Dad said quietly. "I don't know what happened. Vanessa said you canceled." "I didn't cancel, Dad. I was there. She sent me away." Another pause. Longer this time. "Vanessa said you never showed up," Dad repeated, his voice uncertain now. "She said you texted that you were too busy with work." My stomach dropped. "Dad, that's not true. I was standing on the porch. She told me to leave. She said you didn't even remember inviting me." Silence on the line. Then a muffled sound like the phone being covered. Vanessa's voice again, clearer now. "Dad, give me the phone. I'll handle this." "No, I'm talking to Kelsey." "Dad, please. Your blood pressure." "The doctor said no stress." The phone rustled. Then Vanessa's voice came through, cold and controlled. "Kelsey, stop calling here. Dad's confused enough without you making things worse." Making things worse. "Vanessa, what the hell is going on?" "What's going on is that I'm taking care of our father while you live 3 hours away and pretend to care. What's going on is that Dad signed papers making me his healthcare proxy and financial manager because he trusts me. What's going on is that you need to stop interfering." My pulse hammered in my ears. "When did he sign those papers?" 2 months ago. All legal. All proper. Now stay in Portland and leave us alone." She hung up. I sat in my car outside the storage unit, staring at Mom's letter. 2 months ago, Dad had signed over power of attorney to Vanessa. Around the same time, I'd stopped being included in family events. Around the same time, Dad had started sounding tired and confused on our phone calls. I pulled up my banking app and logged into the account I'd set up years ago for Dad's emergency fund. The one I'd been depositing money into whenever he mentioned tight months or unexpected bills. $500 here. 1,000 there. Over the years, it had grown to nearly 15,000. The account was empty. I called the bank immediately. After 20 minutes of being transferred between departments, I finally reached someone who could access the account history. "I'm sorry, Ms. Pike, but there was a withdrawal authorization signed last month. The full balance was transferred to a different account under the name Vanessa Pike." "On what authority?" She provided documentation showing power of attorney for Arthur Pike. The withdrawal was within her legal rights as his appointed financial manager. I thanked her and hung up. My hands were shaking again, but not from sadness this time. From rage. From the crystal clear understanding that everything Mom had warned about in that letter was happening right now. I drove back to Millbrook. Not to Vanessa's house. To Dad's house, the one he'd lived in since I was a kid. The one Vanessa had been managing while he recovered from pneumonia. The driveway was full of cars. I parked on the street and walked up slowly. Through the living room window, I could see Vanessa's husband Marcus handing Dad a glass of wine. Dad was sitting in his recliner, looking pale and thin. Vanessa was on the phone, pacing near the kitchen. I moved closer to the window, staying in the shadows. My phone was in my hand, video recording. Call it instinct. Call it paranoia. Call it the same survival mechanism that had made Mom hide that letter in the first place. Marcus handed Dad a pill bottle. "Here, Arthur. Your evening meds. Dad looked confused. I already took those. No, you didn't. Remember. Vanessa gives you the morning ones, I give you the evening ones. Doctor's orders. I don't remember that. That's okay. That's why we're here. To help you remember. Dad took the pills with the wine. I recorded for 5 more minutes. Vanessa ending her phone call and telling Dad he needed to sign just a few more papers for his care plan. Dad asking what the papers were for. Vanessa's patient, patronizing voice. Just routine stuff, Dad. Trust me, I've got everything under control. Marcus bringing out a stack of documents. Dad reaching for his reading glasses. Vanessa gently taking them away. You don't need to read every word, Dad. It's all standard. Just sign where I marked. Dad signing. His hand shaky. His face uncertain. Felt sick. Whatever was happening in that house, it wasn't care. It was something else. Something calculated and deliberate and terrifyingly efficient. I backed away from the window and sat in my car, watching the recording again. Then I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in years. Naomi Chen. My college roommate. The one who'd gone to law school and specialized in elder law and estate planning. She answered on the 3rd ring. Kelsey. Holy hell, it's been forever. Naomi, I need help. It's about my dad. Her tone shifted immediately. Professional. Focused. Tell me everything. I did. The Christmas rejection. The power of attorney. The empty emergency fund. The recording. Mom's letter. All of it spilling out in a rush of words I couldn't stop. When I finished, Naomi was quiet for a long moment. Then, Kelsey, this isn't just family drama. This is financial exploitation. Possibly coercion. If your dad signed those documents while medicated or confused, they might not be legally valid. But we need to move fast. How fast? There's a guardianship hearing scheduled for January 2nd. I'm looking at the court records now. Vanessa filed to become permanent guardian over your father's finances and estate. If that goes through, you'll have no legal standing to challenge anything she does. My mouth went dry. January 2nd. That's 5 days away. Exactly. Which means we have 5 days to build a case. Naomi drove up from Seattle that night. We met at the motel, spreading documents across the bed like we were planning a military operation. In a way we were. First, we need to establish your father's mental state, Naomi said, making notes on her legal pad. Do you have any documentation that he was lucid and capable of making his own decisions before Vanessa took over? I pulled out my phone and scrolled through text messages. He was fine in September. Look, these are our conversations. Clear. Coherent. He was talking about wanting to take a trip to see the coast. Planning for his birthday. Good. That's good. What changed in October? He got pneumonia. Spent a week in the hospital. When he came home, Vanessa had moved into his house to help him recover. After that, he started sounding different on the phone. Vague. Tired. Sometimes he'd forget we'd just talked the day before. Naomi frowned. What medications is he taking? I don't know. Vanessa handles all that now. We need to find out. Some medications can cause confusion, especially in elderly patients. If Vanessa is over-medicating him to keep him compliant, that's another legal issue entirely. The thought made me nauseous. My sister. The girl I'd grown up with, who used to make me breakfast before school, who taught me how to braid my hair. That Vanessa, deliberately drugging our father to control him. But the evidence was right there in front of me. The recording, the empty accounts, the systematic isolation, the Christmas door slamming shut in my face. There's something else, I said quietly. Mom left me a letter. She knew this might happen. I showed Naomi the letter. Her eyes widened as she read. Kelsey, your mother specifically mentions a safe. Do you know where it is? Dad's house. His bedroom closet. But Vanessa's living there now. I can't just walk in. You might not have to. Does your father have a regular doctor? Dr. Morrison. He's been Dad's physician for 20 years. Call him tomorrow. Ask for a welfare check. If he agrees to visit and finds your father confused or overly medicated, that gives us grounds to request an emergency evaluation. The next morning I called Dr. Morrison's office. The receptionist tried to brush me off. Mr. Pike is under the care of his daughter now, but I insisted on speaking to the doctor directly. Dr. Morrison remembered me. Kelsey, it's been a while. How's Portland treating you? Dr. Morrison, I'm worried about my dad. I tried to visit him at Christmas and something felt wrong. He seemed confused. I think he might be overly medicated. Your sister mentioned you might call. She said you've been going through a difficult time and might make accusations. The ground shifted under me. Of course Vanessa had planned for this too. Preempted any concerns I might raise by framing me as unstable, dramatic, troublemaker. Dr. Morrison, please. Just do a welfare check. Visit him at home, unannounced. Check his medication levels. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize. But if I'm right and something's happening to him, you're the only one who can help. Another pause. Longer this time. I'll stop by this afternoon. I was due to check on him anyway. After we hung up, I sat in the motel parking lot, watching traffic pass on the highway. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Kelsey, honey, I'm sorry about the confusion. Vanessa explained everything. I do remember asking you to come. I don't know why I forgot. Can we start over? I stared at that message. Vanessa explained everything. What had she told him? What story had she constructed to make him doubt his own memory? His own experiences? I texted back. Of course, Dad. Love you. Are you feeling okay? Tired. But Vanessa takes good care of me. She's a blessing. My jaw clenched. A blessing who emptied his emergency fund. A blessing who was systematically taking control of his life. Dr. Morrison called that evening. His voice was careful, measured. Kelsey, I visited your father today. I have some concerns. My heart started pounding. What kind of concerns? His medication regimen has been altered significantly since his pneumonia. Some of the prescriptions your sister told me he needed don't match his current health status. And he seemed unusually confused about basic things. Day of the week. Recent events. Is that normal for someone recovering from pneumonia? Not to this extent. I've adjusted his medications and made it clear that any changes need to go through me first. I also recommended a cognitive evaluation. What did Vanessa say? She was resistant. Said I was overstepping. That she has power of attorney and can make these decisions herself. But you're his doctor. Exactly. Which is why I'm documenting everything. Kelsey, I can't give you medical advice about your father without his permission, but I can tell you that if you're concerned about his care, you should pursue legal channels. I am. There's a guardianship hearing in 4 days. Good. I'll make my findings available to the court if needed. After we hung up, I called Naomi with the update. She sounded grimly satisfied. That's exactly what we need. A medical professional raising concerns about his care. Combined with the financial irregularities and your recording, we have enough to challenge the guardianship petition. What do we do next? We file an emergency motion to suspend the current power of attorney pending investigation. And we prepare for the hearing. Kelsey, this is going to get ugly. Vanessa will fight back hard. Let her fight. I'm done being the family doormat. New Year's Eve arrived. Vanessa posted another Instagram photo. The whole family gathered at Dad's house for a party. Dad in the center, looking tired but smiling. The caption, ringing in the new year with the people who matter most #family first. The people who matter most. The words felt like a slap. Naomi and I spent the day preparing. We compiled everything. Bank statements showing the emptied emergency fund, the recording from Dad's window, Mom's letter, text messages showing Vanessa's deliberate exclusion of me from family events, Dr. Morrison's medical concerns, and the timeline of Dad's cognitive decline since Vanessa had taken over his care. At 7 p.m. I got a text from Aunt Marion. Why weren't you at Christmas? Vanessa said you were too busy with work to come home. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could have explained, could have defended myself, could have told her the truth about what really happened on that porch. Instead, I sent a different message. Can you come to the county courthouse on January 2nd at 10 a.m.? It's about Dad. What about him? Is he okay? Just please come. Bring Uncle Pete. And ask Beth and Connor to come too. This involves everyone. She didn't respond right away. Then, okay. We'll be there. I sent the same message to 3 of Dad's oldest friends. To our neighbor Mrs. Patterson, who'd known our family for 30 years. To everyone who cared about Dad and might want to know the truth. Vanessa's carefully constructed narrative was about to collide with reality, and I was going to make sure everyone was there to see it. January 1st, the day before the hearing. Naomi and I drove to Dad's house one more time. I needed to see him to make sure he understood what was happening, to give him a chance to speak for himself before everything exploded. Vanessa's car was gone. Marcus answered the door. Kelsey. Vanessa said you might show up. He didn't move to let me in. I need to see my father. He's resting. Marcus, please. I'm his daughter. I just want to talk to him. He studied me for a long moment. Something flickered in his expression. Uncertainty. Guilt. 5 minutes. But if Vanessa comes back and finds you here, I was never involved. He stepped aside. I walked past him into the house I'd grown up in. Everything looked the same but felt different. Colder. Like a museum of a life that used to exist. Dad was in his recliner, dozing. I knelt beside him and touched his hand gently. Dad. It's Kelsey. His eyes opened slowly. For a moment he looked confused. Then recognition flooded his face. Kelsey. My girl. When did you get here? Just now. How are you feeling? Tired. Always tired these days. He squeezed my hand weakly. I'm sorry about Christmas. I should have done more. Should have stopped her. Stopped who? Vanessa. She told me you couldn't come. That you were too busy. But I saw you, didn't I? Out in the snow. Through the window. Tears pricked my eyes. You saw me. I wanted to go to the door. Wanted to tell you to come in. But Vanessa said you just cause problems. Said you were angry with me for being sick, for being a burden. Dad, no. I would never think that. His eyes filled with tears. I don't know what's real anymore, Kelsey. My head's all foggy. I sign papers but don't remember what they say. Vanessa tells me things and I believe her because she's here, she's always here, and you're so far away. Dad, listen to me. Kept my voice calm, clear. Tomorrow there's a court hearing. Vanessa is trying to become your permanent guardian. If that happens, I won't be able to help you anymore. She'll have complete control. Dad's grip on my hand tightened. I don't want that. I want you and Vanessa to work together. I want my girls to stop fighting. We're not fighting, Dad. Vanessa is taking your money. She emptied the emergency fund I set up for you. She's controlling your medications. She's isolating you from anyone who might question her. He looked away, tears running down his weathered cheeks. She takes care of me. She gave up her life to be here. Did she? Or did she move in because it gave her access to your accounts? Dad, Mom left me a letter. She knew this might happen. She warned me to protect you. Your mother always worried too much. No. Mom understood Vanessa better than either of us wanted to admit. The front door opened. Vanessa's voice echoed through the house. Marcus. Whose car is in the driveway? Marcus appeared in the doorway, his face pale. Vanessa, I can explain. She pushed past him and stopped dead when she saw me kneeling beside Dad. Her expression shifted through several emotions in rapid succession. Surprise, anger, then something cold and calculating. Get out of my house. This isn't your house, Vanessa. It's Dad's. I have power of attorney. That makes it my house. Now get out before I call the police. I stood slowly, still holding Dad's hand. Go ahead. Call them. I'd love to explain why I'm here. Why Dad looks confused and overly medicated. Why his bank accounts are empty. Her jaw tightened. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? Let's ask Dad. Dad, did you authorize Vanessa to take $15,000 from your emergency fund? Dad looked between us, lost. What emergency fund? Exactly, Vanessa snapped. He doesn't know about any emergency fund because it doesn't exist. You're making things up, Kelsey. Just like always. Creating drama where there isn't any. I have bank records, I said calmly. Transfers. Amounts. All leading to accounts with your name on them. Vanessa's face flushed. That money was for Dad's care. Medical expenses. Home modifications. Things he needed. Then you'll have receipts. Documentation. Proof that you spent it on him and not on yourself. Silence. The kind that speaks louder than words. The hearing is tomorrow, I continued. 10 a.m. County Courthouse. Bring your receipts, Vanessa. Show everyone exactly how you've been taking care of Dad. I kissed Dad's forehead and walked past my sister without another word. Naomi was waiting in the car, engine running. How did it go? She asked as I buckled my seatbelt. She's scared. She knows what's coming. That night Vanessa called me 17 times. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that started angry and ended desperate. Kelsey, we need to talk before tomorrow. You're making a huge mistake. This will destroy our family. Please, I'm begging you. Let's work this out privately. The final message was different. Quieter. Almost sincere. I never meant to hurt anyone. I was just trying to help. Just trying to hold everything together after Mom died. Please don't do this to me. I listened to it twice. Thought about the girl she used to be. The sister who'd braided my hair and made me breakfast. The one who'd held me when Mom died and promised everything would be okay. Then I thought about the woman who'd closed a door in my face in the snow. Who'd systematically erased me from family events. Who'd emptied Dad's emergency fund and convinced him he was too confused to manage his own life. I deleted the voicemails and went to sleep. January 2nd. The courthouse was old brick, imposing, with wide steps leading up to heavy wooden doors. I arrived 30 minutes early with Naomi. We'd dressed professionally. Her in a sharp suit, me in the navy dress I wore for client presentations. Aunt Marion was already there, along with Uncle Pete, Beth, and Connor. Mrs. Patterson from next door. 3 of Dad's friends from his veterans group. They looked confused, worried, but they'd shown up. Kelsey, what's this about? Aunt Marion asked. You'll see. Thank you for coming. At 9:55, Vanessa arrived with Marcus and her lawyer, a thin man with gray hair and an expensive briefcase. She saw the assembled crowd and her face went pale. What are you doing? She hissed at me. Making sure everyone knows the truth. At 10 a.m. we filed into the courtroom. Judge Patricia Holloway presided, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She reviewed the paperwork in front of her, then looked up. This is a hearing regarding the petition for guardianship over Arthur Pike. Ms. Vanessa Pike is petitioning for permanent guardianship due to Mr. Pike's declining cognitive function and inability to manage his own affairs. Ms. Kelsey Pike has filed an emergency motion to suspend the current power of attorney pending investigation into financial irregularities and potential exploitation. Is that correct? Both lawyers confirmed. Where is Mr. Pike? The judge asked. He's at home, Your Honor, Vanessa's lawyer said. His health doesn't permit him to attend. I'd like to hear from Mr. Pike directly, Judge Holloway said. Is there a reason he can't participate via video conference? Vanessa's lawyer hesitated. His cognitive state is quite fragile, Your Honor. We felt it would be too stressful. Too stressful or too revealing. Naomi interjected. Your Honor, we have medical testimony that Mr. Pike's confusion may be related to improper medication management by the petitioner. The judge's eyebrows rose. Go on. Naomi presented our case systematically. The timeline of Dad's cognitive decline coinciding with Vanessa taking over his care. Dr. Morrison's testimony about the altered medications and his concerns about Dad's treatment. The bank records showing $15,000 transferred from Dad's emergency fund to Vanessa's personal accounts. Mom's letter warning about financial exploitation. Then she played the recording from Dad's window. Vanessa's voice telling Dad to just sign without reading. Marcus administering pills Dad didn't think he needed. The systematic erosion of Dad's autonomy captured in 5 minutes of damning audio. The courtroom was silent when it finished. Vanessa's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client has been nothing but devoted to her father's care. She gave up her career to move in with him. The money in question was used for his medical expenses and home care. As for the recording, it was obtained illegally. It was obtained from a public area observing activity visible through a window, Naomi corrected. Perfectly legal in this state. Judge Holloway held up her hand. I've heard enough for now. I'm ordering an immediate independent evaluation of Mr. Pike's cognitive state and his current medication regimen. I'm also freezing all accounts currently under Ms. Vanessa Pike's control pending a full financial audit. This hearing is continued for 2 weeks to allow time for these evaluations. Ms. Vanessa Pike, you are to have no unsupervised contact with your father during this period. Vanessa jumped to her feet. Your Honor, that's ridiculous. I'm his primary caregiver. He needs me. What he needs, Ms. Pike, is clarity. And that's what we're going to get. Court adjourned. The gavel fell. Vanessa turned to me. Her face twisted with rage and something else. Fear. You just destroyed everything. You ruined our family. No, Vanessa. You did that when you slammed the door in my face at Christmas. The independent evaluation took 3 days. A geriatric specialist visited Dad at home, with a court-appointed observer present to ensure no interference. They assessed his cognitive function, reviewed his medications, and interviewed him extensively about his living situation and care. The results were damning. Dad's confusion was primarily caused by improper medication dosing. Specifically, he'd been given sedatives and anti-anxiety medications at levels inappropriate for his age and health status. When these were adjusted, his mental clarity improved dramatically within 48 hours. During his interview, Dad confirmed that he'd never authorized Vanessa to empty his emergency fund. He'd signed papers, yes, but only because Vanessa told him they were routine healthcare forms. He'd never been told they gave her access to his finances. He'd never wanted to exclude me from family gatherings. Vanessa had told him I was too busy, that I'd chosen work over family, that I didn't care about him anymore. The financial audit was even worse. Of the $15,000 transferred from Dad's emergency fund, only $3,000 could be accounted for with legitimate expenses. The rest had paid for Vanessa's credit card bills, a vacation to Mexico, new furniture for her own home, and a down payment on a car. Naomi called me with updates daily. This is textbook elder financial abuse, she said. The prosecutor's office is reviewing the case for potential criminal charges. Criminal charges. Against my sister. Kelsey, she systematically stole from a vulnerable adult. That's a felony in this state. I sat in my motel room, processing that information. My sister. The person who'd raised me after Mom died. Facing criminal charges because of evidence I'd gathered. Part of me felt sick. The other part felt nothing but cold satisfaction. 2 weeks after the initial hearing, we reconvened in Judge Holloway's courtroom. This time, Dad was there via video conference, sitting in a chair with Mrs. Patterson beside him. He looked better, clearer, more like himself than he had in months. The judge reviewed the evaluation reports. Mr. Pike, do you understand why we're here today? Yes, Your Honor. My daughter Vanessa was trying to take control of my life. And my other daughter Kelsey stopped her. Do you wish for Vanessa to continue as your power of attorney? No, ma'am. I want Kelsey. I should have chosen her from the beginning. Vanessa made a sound like she'd been punched. Her lawyer tried to object, but Judge Holloway silenced him with a look. Based on the evidence presented, I'm denying the petition for guardianship. I'm revoking the existing power of attorney due to documented financial exploitation and improper care. Mr. Pike, you're competent to make your own decisions, and if you wish to appoint your daughter Kelsey as your power of attorney, you may do so. I do, Your Honor. So ordered. Additionally, Ms. Vanessa Pike, you are hereby ordered to repay the sum of $12,000, representing the misappropriated funds, to your father within 90 days. Failure to do so will result in additional legal action. The gavel fell. It was over. Vanessa sat frozen in her chair, staring at nothing. Marcus had his head in his hands. Their lawyer was already packing his briefcase, clearly eager to distance himself from the disaster. I walked over to where Aunt Marion and Uncle Pete were sitting. They'd watched everything unfold with expressions of shock and growing understanding. I'm sorry you had to see this, I said. Aunt Marion hugged me tightly. Don't you dare apologize. We should have seen what was happening. We should have questioned why you weren't around anymore. She played us all. The local newspaper ran the story 3 days later. Not the details, those were sealed by the court, but enough to matter. Local woman ordered to repay father after financial exploitation case. Vanessa's carefully curated social media presence went dark. No more Christmas photos. No more posts about family being everything. Just silence. I moved Dad into a nice assisted living facility near Portland. Not because he needed constant care, but because he wanted to be closer to me, and the facility offered independence with support available if needed. He had his own apartment, his own schedule, his own life again. We had dinner together every Sunday. Slowly, the confusion lifted completely. The real Dad emerged from the fog Vanessa had created. He was sharper than I'd seen him in years. Funny. Engaged. Himself. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner, he said one evening over pot roast. Your mother tried to warn me. Said Vanessa needed to be the center of attention. Needed control. I thought she was being too harsh. Mom knew her better than we did. She knew both of you. That's why she left you that letter. That's why she made sure certain things were in your name, not Vanessa's. I paused, fork halfway to my mouth. What things? Dad smiled. There's a safety deposit box at the bank downtown. Been there since before your mother died. She added your name to the access list when you turned 18. Never told Vanessa about it. The next day I went to the bank with the key Dad gave me. Inside the safety deposit box. Mom's wedding ring, her grandmother's diamond earrings, savings bonds in my name worth nearly $30,000, and another letter. Kelsey, if you're reading this, you've found your way through. I'm sorry I can't be there to help you, but I knew you'd figure it out. You were always the strong one, even when you didn't see it. Protect what matters. Build something good. And remember, the door you open for others matters more than the one closed in your face. 3 months after the hearing, Vanessa sent me a letter. Not a text. Not an email. An actual letter, handwritten, sent to my apartment in Portland. Kelsey, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't know if I can forgive myself. You were right about everything. I got lost somewhere after Mom died. I needed, to be the important one, and I convinced myself that meant pushing you out. I convinced myself I deserved Dad's money because I was there and you weren't. I was wrong. About all of it. The worst part is I didn't even realize how far I'd gone until you stopped me. I'm in therapy now. Trying to understand why I did what I did. Marcus and I are separating. He can't look at me the same way anymore. Neither can anyone else. I'm paying Dad back in installments. Sold my car to make the first payment. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for the door. For Christmas. For all of it. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed to say it. I read the letter 3 times. Felt a complicated mixture of anger, sadness, and something that might eventually become forgiveness. But not yet. Not today. I filed the letter away and didn't respond. 6 months after that Christmas night in the snow, I was standing in a different doorway. The community center 2 blocks from Vanessa's old house in Millbrook. The same house where she'd turned me away. The same neighborhood where I'd sat in my car watching through windows, gathering evidence, planning my response. But I wasn't here for revenge anymore. I was here for something better. The room was decorated simply. Long tables covered with white cloths. Folding chairs arranged in neat rows. Christmas lights strung along the walls even though it was June because, as Mrs. Patterson had said, every meal should feel like a celebration. We called it Open Table. A monthly community dinner for anyone who'd been pushed out of family gatherings. Anyone who'd been excluded, erased, or made to feel like they didn't belong. The first event had drawn 12 people. This one, the 6th, had 43 RSVPs. Dad was there, helping arrange place settings with the steady hands of someone who'd rediscovered purpose. Naomi had driven up from Seattle with her partner and their kids. Aunt Marion brought 3 different casseroles. Even some of the people from my original viral post about what happened at Christmas had shown up, wanting to be part of something that turned pain into community. At 6 p.m., I stood at the entrance and welcomed people as they arrived. Some came alone. Some brought friends. A few brought stories that mirrored my own. Siblings who'd manipulated family dynamics, relatives who'd weaponized gatherings, holidays that had become battlegrounds instead of celebrations. We ate together, shared stories, laughed. Some people cried. By the end of the evening, 3 people had exchanged phone numbers to support each other. 2 had volunteered to help organize the next dinner. One elderly man who'd been estranged from his kids for 5 years because of a manipulative daughter-in-law said it was the first time he'd felt like part of a family in longer than he could remember. As people were leaving, a woman approached me hesitantly. She was in her 50s, well-dressed, with eyes that had seen too much sadness. "I just wanted to thank you," she said quietly. "My son's wife has been excluding me from their family for 3 years. Tells everyone I'm difficult, demanding, toxic. Tonight was the first time I didn't feel crazy for missing my grandchildren." Hugged her. "You're not crazy. And you're not alone." After everyone left, Dad and I stood in the empty community center, looking at the tables still littered with plates and half-empty serving dishes. "Your mother would be proud," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "This is exactly the kind of thing she'd have loved. I wish she could see it. She can. I believe that." He paused, then added, "Have you heard from your sister? She wrote me a letter a few months ago, apologizing. And I'm not ready yet. Maybe someday. But not yet." Dad nodded. "That's fair. Healing takes time. For everyone." We finished cleaning up in comfortable silence. As we locked the door behind us, I thought about that Christmas night. The snow. The rejection. The moment everything shifted from hurt to action. Vanessa had meant to destroy me that night. To make me feel small and unwanted and easy to erase. Instead, she'd given me something unexpected. Clarity. The understanding that I didn't need her approval or her version of family to matter. That I could build something better than what she'd torn down. A year after that Christmas, I stood at my apartment window in Portland, watching snow fall just like it had that night on Vanessa's porch. But everything felt different now. Dad was thriving. His medication was properly managed. His finances were back in order, and he'd even started dating a woman from his veterans group. He called me every other day just to chat, to tell me about his poker games and his garden and the book club he'd joined. Open Table had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. We'd held 12 dinners in different communities, started a website, received donations. Other people had volunteered to organize similar events in their cities. What had started as my personal response to being excluded had become a movement of sorts. Proof that closed doors could lead to open tables. I'd been promoted at work, made new friends, started dating someone who thought my story of standing up to my sister was brave, not vindictive. My life had expanded in ways I'd never anticipated. Vanessa and I hadn't spoken since her letter. I'd heard through Aunt Marion that she'd finished paying Dad back, that she was working as a receptionist somewhere, That she'd stopped trying to control the family narrative because no one was listening anymore. The pedestal she'd built for herself had crumbled, and she was learning to live on level ground like everyone else. Part of me still grieved for the sister I'd lost. But I'd learned that some relationships can't survive the truth. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices without rescuing them. My phone buzzed. A text from Naomi. Next open table confirmed for Saturday. 28 people signed up so far. You're changing lives, you know that. I smiled and typed back. We're changing lives. Plural. Then I looked at Mom's letter, now framed above my desk. The door you open for others matters more than the one closed in your face. She'd been right. Vanessa had closed a door on me that snowy Christmas night, trying to lock me out of the family, out of belonging, out of mattering. So I'd built a door no one could be locked out of. A table where everyone had a place. A space where rejection turned into connection and exclusion became impossible. That was my revenge. Not destroying Vanessa, though I could have. Not making her suffer, though she'd certainly tried to make me suffer. My revenge was simpler and more powerful than that. My revenge was building something beautiful from the broken pieces she'd left behind. My revenge was turning the worst Christmas of my life into the catalyst for hundreds of people finding community again. My revenge was refusing to let cruelty win. They say the best revenge is living well. But I discovered something better. The best revenge is living well and bringing others with you. Opening doors. Setting tables. Making sure no one else has to stand in the snow, holding their mother's gingerbread, wondering why they weren't enough. I was enough. I'd always been enough. And on that snowy night a year ago, standing on that porch with tears freezing on my cheeks, I'd made a choice. Not to be destroyed. Not to be erased. But to be forged into something stronger, something that could hold space for others the way I'd needed space held for me. Vanessa had tried to write me out of the family story. Instead, she'd given me the opening chapter of something far more meaningful. The door she closed became the door I opened wide. And I'd never close it again.